back to Small Caps. My name's Kerry Stevenson, and it is coming up to the Christmas week. Well, it actually is Christmas week. It is Christmas coming up on us all too soon. However, for some, they're not taking much of a break. I've asked Mike Jones, the Managing Director of Impact Minerals, ASX code is IPT, to come and join me today because I really want you guys to understand, first of all, they've done a joint venture with IGO. That's number one. We're going to chat about that. Plus, they've picked up some more projects, they've sold some projects. It's a very deliberate strategy that they've got going into 2022. So I wanted Mike to unpack a little bit of that so that you can all understand what value he's creating for shareholders going forward into the new year. Mike, great to see you. Thanks for joining me on Small Caps.
Yeah, thanks, Kerry, and always good to see you. And yeah, looking forward to the short break we're going to get over Christmas and the new year.
Yeah, well, you're not having much of a break because you've got new projects, you've got new things happening. So let's start with you've really done a bit of a pivot in 2021 coming into 22, and I guess that's a pivot from east to west. But you've also done a joint venture with IGO, which is pretty important as well. So before we get stuck into the details of the joint venture and the new projects, can you just give our listeners, I guess, a summary of where Impact are at the moment?
Yeah, sure. Look, Impact has always been a project generator, and because we're looking for a world-class ore deposit, and this is a theme that we've always had, and we're looking for the next Julimar. Unfortunately, it wasn't us that found Julimar; it was Chalice. But that's the kind of scale of thing that we've always been looking for. That's what my background is in, and that's really what the shareholders and directors have supported me, over the years to find, and that continues to this day. So, and one of the core parts of that strategy has been for us to acquire and accumulate significant ground holdings in very prospective parts of Australia. And so, If you look at our current portfolio, we've got a big ground holding in Broken Hill, one of the where the world's largest sort of lead deposit is, silver lead zinc deposit at Broken Hill. We've got a very large ground holding in the Lachlan Fold Belt, which is for porphyry copper gold, and obviously the new Boda discovery. Has kicked off a lot of activity there over the last couple of years. And then recently we've also picked up quite a lot of ground in Western Australia on the back of the Julimar discovery. And part of the reason for all of that is that our skills really lie in target generation, building things up, getting to a certain level. And if it doesn't look like we're going to become a world-class deposit, or it's going to take a lot of dollars to find it, then we would look for a joint venture partner or try and monetize the projects that we've got. Now, obviously, the last few years with COVID-19, the other thing that's sort of driven us is that we haven't been able to get over to the eastern states as much. We've operated quite well there, but from a logistics and certainly planning and management point of view, being able to operate in WA is also a key factor for us as well. So we've come to the end of a very busy year as part of that pivot, and people sort of might be saying, "Oh, what's going on?" But I think and that's fair enough. And but we've now done 3 deals on our eastern states ground, and that's part of the rationalisation and monetisation of the portfolio that we built up there, over many years. And there will be more to come. I'm certain of that in the new year and into 2022, as we again increase our focus on WA. So I can give a summary.
Just talk to us, if you could, about the deals that you've done over in the east. First of all, the ones that you've divested of, and then I'd like to talk about the joint venture with IGO and the importance of that. So let's just talk about the ones that you've divested and why.
Yeah. So we've done 2 divestments, so 2 sales of tenements. One was of a project in Queensland. And we still do have 1 project left in Queensland, but again, we're in discussions with people on that. And that was, we sold our Clermont gold project that we'd had for many, many years to Australasian Gold. And that's actually turned out to be a very good deal. We sold it for 1 million shares at a nominal 10 cents per share. So, $1 million, $100,000 at 10 cents in the pre-IPO. Then Australasian Gold was listed, and they've gone bananas on the back of lithium. So I think we peaked at 80 cents. So it was worth $800,000. It's sort of come back a bit at about $500,000. So that's one of the, so that's that's going to be a good I think a good winner for us come April next year when the shares come out of escrow.
Right.
So that was the first one, and then the second one we sold 2 tenements on our Lachlan Fold Belt project for 50,000 cash and 50,000 in shares, but 180,000 in cash, which we've received in Orange Minerals Limited, which was a new float again that came on the boards only last week, I think, or the week before.
Yeah, recent one. Saw that.
Yeah, that's right. So look, that's those are really 2 good small deals, and that's ground that we consider. Look, it's still got potential. We've still got some upside, but really, it's not where we need to be spending our money. So
you get rid of those, but you still got a little bit of exposure if something exciting happens.
Yeah, that's right. And the shares in Australasian Gold, and we've got shares, cash, and a royalty on the deal with Orange Minerals.
Perfect. All right. Now, you've also done a joint venture with IGO.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that one and the reason behind it.
Yeah. So look, this is the really big news for us, and in terms of whole strategy, project generation, looking for partners, and looking for partners has been difficult over the years. A lot of this ground, we picked up sort of 2012 through 2017, which of course were the big downturn, and that's what people do, pick up things during the downturn. But then as we've come through the boom of the last couple of years, there was a slow build up and COVID. So really there wasn't a lot of interest in grassroots exploration from the majors and well-funded companies until the last 12 or 18 months. And so, it's one of the reasons it's taken us, sort of a long time to get somebody interested. You need the market conditions and everything to be right.
Sure.
And so IGO came knocking at the door. They approached us based on our results for the nickel-copper-platinum part of our Broken Hill project. And we've delivered some pretty interesting and pretty high grade results there over the years, and you've followed our story for the decade that we've almost had that thing now. And one of the things about platinum exploration, it is difficult. They can be elusive, but what we've done over the last couple of years in particular is demonstrate really that there is definitely huge potential, but it's going to need a lot of drilling and deep pockets to be able to actually make progress.
Yeah.
Some of these nickel sulfide channels that we're looking for, they might only be, 20 metres wide, 7 metres thick, so they're very small targets, but hopefully they're going to run for, a kilometre or more. And so, IGO are experts in looking for that type of deposit as well. And they've got some in-house electromagnetic survey, geophysical survey techniques, superconducting squids, they're called. And they're experts in that. And so they're going to do these big geophysical surveys as the first pass. And that's probably at least, $500,000 worth of work, right there. And I'm pretty confident.
But talk to me about the deal itself. Talk to me about the numbers around the deal and the percentages and where.
Yeah, so that's the background. So it's a 3-stage deal. So they're going to come in. They want to spend basically the equivalent of about $500,000 to do the geophysical survey.
Okay.
And then assuming that they will generate targets from there, and I'm pretty confident they're going to, they will then elect to earn in. And then the first stage is they can earn 51% by spending $6 million.
Okay.
And then another 24% to take them to 75% by spending a further $12 million. So basically it's $18 million to earn 75%. So that's a huge deal. It's big numbers. It's sort of, it's the sort of numbers you get from big mid-tiers and the bigger companies when they're looking for major deposits. So we're pretty happy, and really.
Mike, that's actually quite a big deal. Getting IGO to come in, and they're doing it in a sensible way, as you say, 3 stages. $500,000 to make sure that what they're seeing and what you've seen is true and that there's something there. And when do you think that they're going to start to do that work?
So subject to the ongoing COVID issues that are happening over there, they had been looking at mobilising crews there like January, February, and then getting the surveys done, because it'll probably take about a good 3 months kind of work to to be able to cover the two key areas, Platinum Springs and Little Broken Gabbro. And they've got a year to do that, but we've got an inbuilt, there is a sort of force majeure clause in there, so if things are delayed because they can't get there, that's fine, we'll just extend the deal. So no one's under any pressure to perform. So I think that's, all we can do is wait and see. So, but they've started all the preliminary prep work. It's just a matter of organising crews to get out there, and they're taking their crews from here in WA, where they've been based in particular around Nova, for several years now, and taking those crews over to Broken Hill to do the work, and then come back again. So all in all,
yeah, I think knowing, having spoken to you before, Mike, and knowing what you've got at the Broken Hill project, and knowing that, as you said once, to quote, it lit up like a Christmas tree. How appropriate that we're talking on the week before Christmas. But I think it's testament to your doggedness of saying, look, I know that there is something there, but you did need a big partner to come in and say, you know what, we're going to throw a lot of money at this, but at the end of that third stage, it means that if there's a big discovery, a big upside, that the shareholders of Impact Minerals still have got a 25% exposure.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, sure, we wouldn't run as high as if we discovered it ourselves, but, look, it might take $2 million, it might take $20 million of drilling, to actually determine whether or not there's, a major deposit there. So, and you can't really tell. But it's certainly beyond our capability to find that. And that's if people with long memories will remember, of course, we still have the Commonwealth deposit, which is a small, high-grade volcanogenic massive sulfide in the Lachlan Fold Belt. A lot of excitement there. We had a discovery, an epithermal gold-silver discovery nearby. But again, it was like small targets, but even as at high grade. And there's drilling difficulties. We've got to get, you have to drill 300 meters through a big hill to get down to that deposit. And so to extend it along strike, there's a lot of dollars to be able to, to extend that, despite the tremendous.
So what's happening with Commonwealth?
So we're on the marketing trail for Commonwealth, and we've certainly got quite a bit of interest. Got people looking at the the data now. And we'll see if something comes. It's very similar to the world-class Escape Creek project in British Columbia. It's unique in Australia. There is no other deposit like it. It has a unique set of minerals, unique setting, and the similarities, as I say, to Escape Creek are really quite startling. So we think that there might be some interest from overseas, in particular Canada.
Okay.
Escape Creek was mined in the 90s by Barrick, and then was dormant, and then the juniors picked it up, and of course they discovered that Barrick missed a whole lot of stuff, and it's turning again into a very significant, small, super high grade, gold silver deposit. So Skeena Resources, they've done very well on the back of that. So I think might be able to get some interest in there.
Okay, and that covers the eastern side for Impact Minerals. So that's tick. We know what's happening over there. Now, moving over to the west, as you said earlier, that you've pivoted from east to west a little bit, because the eastern side, it's either joint venture or you've divested them or you're looking for a partner. So that's all under control. Yeah. What's happening over in the west?
Okay, so we've got two things happening. So one is the Arkan project. It's our flagship project now. It's 2,000 square kilometres. It's in the wheat belt of WA. It's about 150 kilometres east of Julimar. But interestingly, there's a major structure that runs through that project area that actually trends right up into that Julimar Mora area where Caspian are there. So most people have been focused on the north-south sort of trend. Yep. But it's clear that where these other structures are coming in from the west, from east to west, that they're also incredibly prospective. And for those that have heard the story before, I was in two minds as to whether to peg this, but there was some very significant regional geochemical anomalies for nickel, copper, and gold, very broad spaced, highlighting it as possibly anomalous area. We staked the ground, and the day after we announced it, Anglo American Corporation came in and staked 10,000 square kilometres all around us, basically. And I've subsequently found out that structure, which interestingly I'd actually identified first of all many years ago at Western Mining, doing a magnetic interpretation, had been explored for diamonds in the sort of 90s. And then there's a major research program going on worldwide, and identified that structure as a deep-seated mantle tapping structure. And that's really, and Anglo is sponsoring this particular research project, and that's why they, sort of pegged all of that ground around it. So I would say we've actually got one of the core pieces of ground in that whole area, and it's one of the largest ground holdings that's consolidated in one consolidated block by Dunya. So we've had a few knocks on the door already on that. But look, as part of the project generation philosophy that we have, we're in a position now to add significant value in a short period of time. And we've already started that process by just doing some soil sampling along the roads and the tracks that go through that area. And we got some very significant results for both nickel, copper and platinum group metals. And then also, interestingly, for the first time, lithium. And so there's been quite a bit of interest for good old lithium.
Good old lithium.
That's right. And the reason we were on the roads and tracks is that up until recently, all the wheat belt has been planted. So the harvest is now finished.
That's
so
done.
then we can get access, into the rest of the paddocks around the targets we've identified. So we've got someone on the case right now getting the land access agreements going and compensation organised. And so hopefully, into the new year, we'll be able to get onto the ground and do the follow-up programs. And I'm pretty confident we're going to get some quite stunning anomalies on that ground. So as I say, for both nickel-copper-PGE, but also for the lithium. So,
and any rare earths in there as well? I mean, who knows? I know it's very early days, but any sniffs?
Yeah, no, we got rare earths as well. We had a separate announcement on that on the rare earths. And what's interesting is that it's kind of, there's a bit of a zonation. So the lithium's in one area, the nickel's in another, and then the rare earths are in another part of the project. And people often sort of say, what's the impact about? What's it looking for? Got all these different, metals and stuff. But one of the things is that when you peg a large piece of ground, in any prospective terrain, it's going to become, prospective for other things apart from the one you picked it up. So if you picked up a large amount of ground around Kambalda, you're looking for gold, and then you found nickel, nobody raises an eyebrow, So, but for impact, it's like, you've got all these different projects, but we've always stuck to the core commodities. So gold, silver, nickel, copper, PGEs, with a little bit of silver, lead, zinc, okay? And they occur in lots of different deposit styles. So that's what's happening. We've got, copper, gold in porphyries in the Lachlan Fault Belt. We've got copper, gold in veins in Broken Hill, and copper, gold in something else in WA. But we're still looking for copper, gold. It's just different geological environments. And I think that's what confuses a lot of people with the impact story.
I think it does. And I think what you've made it clear earlier was that you're a project generator, and you're not looking for a little bit here and a little bit there. You're looking for the big discovery. Yeah. As you said, like Chalice, the one that got away, but it's okay because you've got something, might have a sniff of something similar.
That's right. So, and the thing about the nickel-copper-PGE anomalies that were generated is that they are associated. It's not just nickel and copper, which you might just get as a high background value in mafic or ultramafic rocks. We're getting platinum, palladium, and gold associated with them as well, and with the anomalies. And so you wouldn't see that unless there was actually some form of mineralization around it. That's why we're so excited about those particular anomalies.
So what's happening coming into 2022 with news flow for Arkan?
So that'll be the land access should be getting done. We've got to go on the ground now, so probably January, February, get some deals done, and then we'll be able to get on the ground and then do some follow-up soils and geophysics. And so we hope to sort of drill those probably from about the middle of next year onwards, hopefully before the crop goes in for next year. That's one of the big challenges. A lot of people don't talk about it, but the big challenge in the wheat belt is working in the period between the harvests, between the harvest and the planting.
Absolutely, it is known as the wheat belt for a reason. Exactly. Are you going to get a partner, do you think, with Arkan? Or are you going to start? Do you want to?
I think we need to add a bit more value. We have had a knock on the door, and we're using some geophysical, tools, and they're sort of indicating some interesting targets. And I think we need to sort of prove maybe one or two of those up before, handing over the keys to the vault. Yeah, you don't want to give away all the jewellery too early. No, that's right. Okay, but that's not the only one, is it? You've also picked up some other projects over there as well. And I think the most important thing for our listeners to understand is, what's your focus going to be in 22? Is it
Is it going to be a series of going through each project one by one, or what's the strategy going forward into 22?
So we just announced that we've done 4 joint ventures with basically a connected group of people, and we've been working with them for about 6 months, and they've been pretty good at sort of target generation and bringing things to us, and announced all the deals in one go. We've sort of been building them up for a little while, and we've done some soil sampling on 2 of those, 2 of them, or no,
2, I think.
2 of them, and and got some some pretty interesting results. So and then the other 2 that are still in application, so we've still got a while to do before we can do work on those. But based on the results of the first couple, it was like, okay, these are pretty interesting. And they're sort of further, they're one stage further along. So in terms of, we've already got initial soil sampling, so we can go back immediately to those areas, do some grids over the top of them, and then go from there. So our focus really will be to try and move them all along, and we'll be spending a lot of money on soil sampling and initial sort of geophysics, and then we'll see how many drill targets that we get out of that, and then work on the best method of tackling them all round about probably the second quarter onwards of next year. And so we have announced that we've just had an attempt at drilling one of those at Hopetown, down south. We can maybe come back to that. But look, the immediate drill targets there, first one we've drilled looks like to be some indications of sulfide down there, and we just need to get back there with a different rig. So I'm very excited about next year. We've got a lot of drilling to be done, and Arkan's moving along, and the 4 joint ventures, and then obviously there's Dunya, the Dunya Gold Project. Just a quick word about that. We were going to drill Dunya this right now, but the rig that we were going to use was actually near Hopetown by sheer coincidence.
Right.
So we used that rig at Hopetown rather than going to Dunya, and then so the rig will be at Dunya just before Christmas.
Okay.
Already mobilised, and apparently we'll be ready to drill probably around about the 5th, 6th of January next year. So by the second week of January, we'll be up and running and active again for 2022. So we're pretty excited.
What's with Dunya? Where is that? That's not far from Hopetown, is that right? How far?
No, so Dunya is about 80 kilometres east of Kambalda. And,
okay.
It's a gold project. It's an 80-20 joint venture with another private group. And there's a very significant gold and bismuth in soil anomaly there that was found by Western Mining in the late 1990s. And it has a lot of similarities and was initially discovered in the same drill program as the Burns discovery of Lefroy, which has obviously been one of the sort of market success stories of the of the year. So Lefroy's discovery, Burns, it's only 30-40 kilometres away. It's in similar rocks. It's the same style of seeing the similar geochemical signatures over those 2. And Burns is very unusual. An unusual style of gold deposit in that neck of the woods. It's copper, gold, magnetite, so quite different to the normal vein-hosted gold that dominates the whole of the gold fields. And we think that we've got something very similar there based on the geochemistry that we've done. It's there's gold, there's bismuth, there's antimony, there's arsenic, there's tin, there's lithium, there's all those indicators for something that's different to the other, to the normal style of deposit in that area. So look,
we're running out of time, Mike. So I really want to ask you this, if I could. It's how I like to finish off my my interviews. Everyone knows it. It's the 3 reasons that people should be sitting up. And I'm sorry, I'm throwing this on you, but maybe you'll have remembered from one of our last ones. 3 reasons that people should be sitting up and taking notice of impact minerals. You said we're a little bit different. We're project generators. We're looking for the big discovery. So coming into 2022, not 6, just 3 reasons why people should be sitting up and taking notice of impact minerals, ASX code IPT.
Very good. Well, the first reason, as you said, is we are looking for the big win. So if we get what we're looking for, the shares are going to go up, a lot from where we are now. It's 10-fold plus easily. The second thing is that our results from Hopetown whilst we have drilling difficulties, are very encouraging, just visually. And I think we've got a big chance of a significant discovery or discoveries to be had on the Hopetown project. And then thirdly, keep your eyes on Dunya. We're going to start drilling second week of January. The news flow is going to continue, right the way through there's normally a quiet period. And we've also got a very good chance of discovering what we came to find at Dunya as well. So those are the three main reasons.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Mike Jones says it's the big wins that he's looking for. How do you find it? You do it by drilling. What's Mike doing? He's not going to have to take a long break. He's going to get back in the field and drill. And he likes to look at Hopetown and he likes to look at Dunya. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled on what ASX code IPT are doing in early January as those results start to come out. In the meantime, Dr. Mike Jones, thanks for joining me on Small Caps, and I wish you a very happy Christmas. Short one that it may be.
Thanks, Kerry, and the same to you. Look forward to talking to you in the new year.